Alright, Jam Fam, so they announced new balance changes, and I'm a little late on getting this done because I was asleep when they did drop the sneak peek for me, but I am going to try to get this done as quickly as I possibly can. So this video is going to be a little unscripted, which is not normal for me, but whatever, we're going to wing it. So the goal today is to go over all of the balance changes as well as the new gadgets and talk about what I think about all the changes that are coming to the game as far as the meta goes. I'm sure by the time you guys are watching this, you've already seen the balance changes, you already know what's up, so make sure you let me know what you guys think about it, and let me know what you think about my opinions as well as we walk through this video. And remember, if you guys enjoy my rambling, make sure you leave a like on the video, and if you're new, make sure you drop a sub as well. And with all that out of the way, let's get started.
Home run!
Alright, so first off, we're going to start with just talking about the buffs, and the first buff that I want to talk about is obviously going to be my favorite brawler, Bibi. She's getting both an HP increase and a damage increase. Her HP is getting bumped up by 5% and her damage getting bumped up by 8%. Those are both really solid numbers, and I generally like when they do balance changes within the 5 to 10% range, and she's getting both of those addressed. So overall, I think Bibi's going to be more solid. She's still going to struggle in the meta because there's so many anti-tanks in the game, but overall, I think she's going to be a little bit better, and I'm going to enjoy playing her personally, so that's all that really matters, right? Alright, next up, Bo's getting a projectile speed increase. They said like 7%. I don't think really anyone's going to notice that much. And honestly, I think this is an okay change. But the thing that really sticks out to me, I can't show it to you, but in the patch notes, they said they want to do more with Bo and that this is just the starting point. So I think in the short term, this isn't really going to make too much of a difference. But in the next round of balance changes, or maybe the one after that, they're really going to focus on Bo and he's going to become much more meta. Next up, Squeak is getting a buff to both of his gadgets. And Supercell actually talked crap about his gadgets in the patch notes, which is actually kind of funny to me. Anyway, Windup is getting a 50% damage increase tacked onto it, so now you're going to have the super long range and 50% more damage. Now, I think this is an okay change, but it's pretty tricky to land Windup after it gets past a certain point. So I don't really know if it's really going to change how good the gadget actually is, but it is a nice attempt at trying to buff it up a little bit. And Residue is actually getting two buffs. It's actually getting a 5-second duration added to the visibility it applies to grass when you use it. That's pretty nice, although I still think that's a really bad feature of the gadget. I don't think it's really that useful. And it's also getting a slowing zone added to it. So now you can use it on pretty much every map, even if there's not a lot of bushes. I actually thought when they first announced that gadget that it was going to give a slowing zone all the time. So I do like to see that change. I do think that will actually add some area of control to Squeak's attack. And I think, honestly, I'm personally going to prefer Residue over Windup just because of that slowing zone, because it does give Squeak a lot more area of control.
Everything is fine.
Alright, these next three I'm going to call reworks because they're kind of like buffs and nerfs all at the same time. But the first one I want to talk about is going to be Griff. Now, Griff is actually having his base unload speed increase, and they're nerfing his keep the change star power down by 10%. So it keeps the same unload speed when you use the star power, but it's faster when you don't use it. And then they're also going to be buffing up his business resilience star power by 5%, so you heal a little bit more when you actually use that star power. The goal of this change was to try to balance out his 2 star powers to try to make them more equivalent to each other, because before you couldn't run Griff without running Keep the Change, and now Business Resilience will actually have a shot. I don't know exactly how much the baseline increase is actually going to affect Griff's gameplay, but I think overall it's a positive change. It's a step in the right direction at least. Alright, next rework is going to be Lou. Now, Lou is getting super cool added to his baseline abilities at a 90% effectiveness, and then his super cool star power is going to add another 20% on top of that. So overall, he's going to be able to freeze more when he's running super cool, but even if you don't have it, he's still going to be able to freeze. Overall, you can think of this as like the Coiled Snake rework that they gave to Mortis a few months back, where Coiled Snake became part of his base kit, and then the Coiled Snake star power gave that a buff. And on top of that change, Lou's Hypothermia star power is getting a rework, so now instead of it causing a reload debuff, it's just going to cause an outright damage debuff. I honestly don't know exactly how much this is actually going to change for Lou. The new star power is kind of cool. I do like that it's giving him a damage debuff, and now he doesn't need to be reliant on super cool. But personally, Lou is still my least favorite brawler, and they didn't try to address any of his jankiness, so I don't know if he's actually going to be, like, more viable for me personally. As far as the meta goes, I don't see him actually breaking through because of all the anti-tanks and stuff. I don't think that his control is actually needed outside of a mode like Siege. Alright, last rework, and this is going to be the big one. I think this is going to be the big balance change that most people focus on, but Surge got a huge rework in this one. So they're removing Surge's first gadget entirely, and they're reworking his super so that instead of jumping straight up and down, now he's going to be able to jump across the map, kind of like Edgar, but I don't think the range is quite as bad as Edgar's, but anyway. And then as far as Surge's gadgets, they're reworking his first gadget to be called Power Surge, and now what that's going to do is that's going to give you +2 power levels for 10 seconds. So if you're at base level, it's instantly going to bump you to level 2, and if you're at level 1, it's going to bump you right to level 3. They're also giving Surge a second gadget, and this is going to be called Power Shield. And what this is going to do is it's going to give Surge a shield that converts 80% of the damage he takes into ammo, and he can reload up to 3 shots with this shield. I don't know the exact conversion rate of how much damage Surge needs to take to be able to reload all 3 shots from being out. That's a Kairos time thing to figure out, not me. I just want to say I think this is a really unique gadget, and I think paired with his new super, it's going to be really fun to play, and it's going to make Surge a much better assassin, but not quite as toxic as he was before. So I think overall, this is going to be a solid rework for Surge. I think in modes like Showdown and Knockout, he's going to be way less toxic, and I think in modes like Gem Grab and Brawl Ball, he's going to be played more like an assassin-type character.
Fang it!
All right, now we talked about the buffs and the reworks, so let's talk about the nerfs now. And the first nerf I want to talk about is going to be Spike. Now, Spike's Plant Life gadget is getting a 50% HP nerf. Honestly, solid change. Plant Life really made Spike really good against pretty much every brawler that didn't have piercing damage. So now most brawlers that had a hard time dealing with the cactus that he spawned are going to be able to take it out in like 1 shot less. So honestly, I think overall it's going to be a decent change. All right, next up, Byron's getting a nerf, and they're making it so that his super takes an additional shot to charge up. Honestly, this is a change that probably needed to happen because Byron's been meta pretty much ever since he was released, and normally when we see these types of changes where it takes a little bit longer to charge a super like this, it normally takes the brawler down a few pegs. I don't think Byron's going to be unviable, but I do think he's definitely going to be a lot worse. I wouldn't be shocked if he falls out of the meta, but he's still going to be the go-to healer in tanks that actually want a healer, something like Ashe or something like that. So we'll see what ends up happening. All right, next up, Gale's getting a nerf. His Blustery Blow star power is getting a 0.25 second decrease. Giant change. Gale's unplayable. Don't even touch him. But honestly, I don't think this is going to change anything. I think Gale's still going to be really strong. Blustery Blow is still going to be the go-to star power for him. I don't know what they were doing. They should have took a whole half second off it instead of just a quarter second. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, next up, Eve is actually getting nerfed. She's getting 3, but they're all really small. She's getting a super small projectile speed decrease. It really doesn't change anything. I don't think anyone's really going to be affected by this projectile speed decrease. She's also getting a 3% HP decrease. I said they needed to decrease it by a lot more than that, something like 10%, but 3% is a step in the right direction, I guess. She's also getting an 8% damage decrease on her normal attacks. Now, in my Eve nerfing video, I did say this is one of the directions they could take Eve, saying that they could make it so that she competes with Lou and Squeak as a long-range control brawler, and that appears to be the direction they want to take her moving forward. She's still going to be really good in that role. She's still going to have decent-ish damage. She's still going to have a decent amount of health. And now they didn't touch her spawnability of her hatchlings. So overall, I think she's still going to fill that role pretty well. She's still going to be viable in Knockout and Bounty. So overall, I think these are okay changes for Eve. They might need to touch her again in the next round of balance changes, but we'll find out about that. All right, last of the nerfs is going to be Fang, and Fang is actually getting a lot done to his kit. First off, he's getting a 4% HP nerf. Small change. I don't think it's really going to cause that big of a difference for him. He's going to do a little worse when he's like 2-2 up close, but honestly, overall, I don't think it's going to change too many interactions. The biggest change is probably going to be his super damage nerf. That's getting nerfed by 17%. That's a really chunky nerf. That's like almost 20%. Overall, I think they overdid it just a little bit on that. We'll find out, but I think that's a really big nerf, and I'm kind of scared to see how it actually ends up affecting Fang. His Roundhouse gadget is also getting a nerf. That's getting a half-second duration cut, so instead of it being a full second stun, it's only going to be a half-second stun. Honestly, fully expected this to happen. Roundhouse kick was a super good gadget, especially in a mode like Brawl Ball, so I'm not shocked that this is going to happen, and you're definitely going to feel it, unlike the Gale stun gadget. So overall, I don't think it's going to be a bad gadget, but it's just going to be a lot harder to use. And then his Fresh Kick star power is getting a fix. It would originally recharge your super if you killed a pet with it. Now it's not going to do that anymore. I think that originally it was never intended to do this, so that they're just fixing it. But overall, that's still going to be a net nerf for him.
Yeah!
All right, before we wrap this video up, we got 3 gadgets to talk about. They're adding 3 more gadgets on top of Surge's 2 new gadgets, so that makes 5 in total for the patch. First off, Amber's getting a gadget. This is going to be called Dancing Flames. What this is going to do, it's going to spawn 3 dancing flames that move around her in a circle, and when they hit somebody, they're going to do 500 damage each, and they can pass through people. Overall, I think this is an okay gadget. Amber does technically struggle a little bit if people get too close to her too quickly, so if somebody jumps on you, you can activate this and do a little bit of damage. I don't know how effective it's actually going to be, and I think most people are still going to prefer her first gadget anyway, just because it leaves the pool of oil and it synergizes really well with her first star power. Next up, Jackie's getting a new gadget called Rebuild. What this is going to do, it's going to allow Jackie to repair any broken structures on the map, stuff like walls or gates or whatever. Jackie's going to be able to repair all that stuff. I think this is kind of a gimmick gadget. I don't know exactly how effective it's going to be. Now, Jackie is a tank, so she doesn't like when maps get opened up too much. But honestly, I think I would rather just use the first gadget, get the speed boost, and run people down rather than just repair the map. So overall, I'm not really a fan of this gadget. I don't think we're ever really going to want to use it over her first gadget. I don't think it's very good, but we're going to move on. And the last new gadget is going to be Meg. Meg is getting a new gadget called Toolbox, and what this is going to do, it's going to put down a reloading station that allows you and your teammates to get a reload speed buff when you stand within it. Now, the range on this is actually kind of small. It looks to be just a little bit bigger than Bo's Super Totem range, and honestly, I don't think you're really going to want to keep it in your lane when you're playing Meg. I think you're going to want to give it to your teammates more often than not. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid gadget. I think that if they buff the range up a little bit, it'll be a way better. That way more people can use it. But I think in the short term, it's definitely a solid gadget, and I think I'm going to prefer it over the one that heals her mech just a little bit, because that healing gadget kind of feels ineffective in my opinion. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. That's all the balance changes, plus the new gadgets that are coming to the game in this update. I think overall, my favorite change is probably the one to Surge. I think overall, he's going to be a lot more fun to play, and I don't think he's going to be quite as toxic as he was before. And I think my least favorite change is the one to Gale, because honestly, a quarter-second nerf does not really make sense to me. I don't really think that Blustery Blow is going to be unviable, and I don't know what they were thinking by cutting it by that little amount. And then as far as the gadgets, I think my favorite one's probably the Meg one. I really like the utility of it. I just think they need to buff the range up a little bit to make it really good, but I think in the short term, it's definitely a better gadget than the one she had. But yeah, that covers everything in this video. Let me know what you guys think about the balance changes. Let me know what you guys think about the gadgets. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, but that's going to do it for this one. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.